Yep.
Yeah, it sure was. I bet you couldn't have found another husband for miles around to do that.
And then how does she pay him back? She writes a book called Surviving Without Romance.
Uh-huh.
Not about him though. So,
Uh-huh.
but I
Uh-huh.
always thought that was funny.
Uh-huh. Each to his own. People have such. Well, Mary was different. Now you can expect children to be different, but she really was. She really was different from all her life. She still is. She still is. And you have to give her credit for all she's got.
What do you mean by different? Say, I'm curious. Say more about that.
Well, that is hard to explain. She's she's more her own person as she went to Europe, as she went to Africa. None of the other children had an aim like that in life to begin with. She had these things in her mind that were different than other children, and she carried them out. And somehow, even with getting married and circumstances changed, she still has these objectives in her mind and her life that she carries out. And lots of people wouldn't have done in the same circumstances, would never have done, had the uh, whatever that adjective is there that she has, that is different than lots of other young people. She goes after what she wants, and it sticks in her mind. She don't easily give up either. No, she don't. No, she don't. And I think none of the other four children would have ever thought of having that as a goal to go to another country with young children like she did. And she had this in her mind long before they went, I'm sure. It took her a while to get it accomplished. But when she had made up her mind, this something she wanted to do, somehow she got it carried out. So she had that determination that lots of them wouldn't have had. So in her own way, she has her own personality and carries it out. Hmm. That's it. So you have to give her credit for what she has accomplished.
I I'm proud of her.
Oh, you can be. You can be. Sure. But I think even now, she sees things in her own way, maybe a bit little different than some other people do. Which, of course, I guess maybe that's true for most of us. That we're not quite as we don't quite different. We don't quite differ as much from the flock. We just sort of hang in there, and but she has more the adventurous side of her. That if she has a goal, she's willing to go after it. So you give her credit for what she's done. Yeah. And now I still think with your dad's difficulties, I think she still finds some things a little hard. I I think she carries pretty much of the burden for a while already, and I take it from just she doesn't complain, but I think from a couple of things she's said already that you can read into a lot, that I think she's carried pretty much of the burden here, especially since she hasn't been too well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think they were different to begin with. I think they had a lot of getting used to each other in their lives. I think they did.
Why do you say that?
Why?
Yeah.
I think I think in a couple, um, some some people have a little bit more compatibility than others do. Now I think she has found. I don't know whether I'm on a subject that I'm way off being. I think their natures have been strained lots of times. They love each other, but their natures are so different that I think they have found it a little difficult to be on the same realm. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
I think they've had a little bit more difficulty than some couples, but they've managed to make it all these years.
Hmm.
And here, when he hasn't been so well, um, I think it's been rather hard on her, and I think they've not. I've never been around your dad where he blows up. I've never been around him, but I've been on the verge. I got down there where there had been. She was almost afraid to meet him, where there evidently had been something going on before I got there. But because I got there, it was it was kept quiet. But I knew there had been something going on right before that, and I know that they've had rough spots where their natures collide. There there's certainly a lot, but not no matter who your partner is, you're not going to have somebody that's a duplicate of you, and you don't want that. You wouldn't want that. So this is one of the things when you get married that you learn.
And learn and learn.
Yes, absolutely. That's you don't know why you're attracted, to the other person, because everybody is different. These are one of the things you just learn.
Now, so I'm curious, like, Megan and I have, well, every couple has whatever issues they are that they really can't agree on. And sometimes
Uh-huh.
they're as simple as how the bathroom gets cleaned, and other
Uh-huh.
times they're big, like finances or.
You can find little things to blow up.
Right. But I'm curious, what were some of the things that you and Pop Up sometimes didn't see eye to eye on?
You know what? We never, ever in our lives blew up. Never. Now, whenever there was anything that came up, when we were, when Margie, when Margie was a baby and she didn't want to take her medicine. Well, anyhow, he had this liquid. I had come from church and had a new dress on with a pleated skirt, and something came up with Marjorie, and she was not a year old yet. She was just a baby, but she was afraid of medicine. Well, we decided she had. I guess it was. I, I I guess it was connected with her bowels. I guess so. I don't remember that part of it. But I guess it was something like castor oil or something like on that order. It had to be because of what it did to my dress. Anyhow, and he was going to, I was holding her, and he was going to give this teaspoonful of this oil to her. Well, of course, he was so determined, yes, she is going to take it. And he got too close to her, and she turned her head, and the whole thing went down the front of my dress, of course. Well, then the next thing was, what about the parents? What are they going to do about this thing? Well, he was all mad at the baby because the baby turned her head, and I knew ahead of time what was going to happen, and I thought he shouldn't have tried to force it on to her. So here we had this mess. So he said, I don't know exact if any words were spoken in between. He said, "Hereafter, you train the child," or whatever I was supposed to do to the child. Hereafter, he wanted no part of it. And I said, fine. And after that, he never tried to do anything. He would go out the door. If anything came up, there was never another argument between us all the time we raised our children. He washed his hands. Like he said that night, he was going to wash his hands of it. He said, now, he said, you train the children. And I didn't give much of an answer. And after that, he would go out the door and go and do something out in the fields. And when he came in, everybody forgot about the whole episode. And that's the way we went through life. We never had another explosion that I ever remember. He never did. He'd go his way and do whatever he needed to do, and later on, then with the children, but he left the training to me, and if anything turned up, on he'd go. That was it. That was it.
And is that a model that you felt it worked? Or was that frustrating sometimes?
No, it worked. With us, it worked. Sam and I can't remember that we ever had a heated conflict. Of course, we lived there, and then we were with my parents also, and it was very imperative that things were kept on an even keel, and that's the way we went through life. And as I say, I won't say that different ones didn't feel that things weren't quite the way you'd like them to be, but you kept quiet, and the other one kept quiet, and things would gradually work themselves out. All those years, we never fought. And as I say, we had that many people, and a mixture of people. And I don't know that we ever had any conflict that interfered with any. Everybody meant their own business, went their own way in their own business, did what they had to do, and Sam and I did what we had to do. We got ready and went to church every Sunday morning and saw that the kids got there, and the kids, as I say, they played, and they used to have things to do outside, and lots of times they did things with Sam, with animals, or planting, or sometimes they even used the machinery. I know they rode around and did things with machinery and stuff, but they enjoyed doing it. They thought it was sort of a privilege rather than anything else. But it took up the attention and the time and stuff. And that's why we managed somehow. And I think any of the kids will tell you the same thing. There were never outright eruptions.
So that it sounds like that was one trick that worked for you guys. What are some of the other secrets of your success, being together so long and having it work? So not fighting out loud. You know, some people are real loud fighters, and you guys didn't do that.
No.
What are some other things that worked?
Well, as I say, all the years that we had children, now, as I said, I didn't go to church during the time that I was in Easton, those 3 years. But the rest of the time, when I came back, I joined another church. We had belonged to Geneva Street to the Mennonite there, where I went up to East Swamp then and joined East Swamp. But we always then went to church on a Sunday morning. Sam taught all those years, all his life. He taught somewhere all his life, not always in East Swamp. He taught down below town all his life. He taught somewhere all his life. But we always somehow saw that there was an interest for when it was the children growing up, that either through partition, my dad was the school director, Sam was the school director. There was always an interest in school and what they were interested in the school, connected with the school, activities and stuff like that. They always had outside interests besides just growing up. And I thought that was important. Uh, Further than that, I hardly know what to say. We always, as I say, all the time that we were growing up, we never missed going to church. That was another thing. We felt that it was important. Uh,
Sounds like you guys divided up the labor a little bit. You know, you had certain areas that he
Oh, yes.
let you be the boss of,
Absolutely.
and then some areas that
Sam did. Sam
let him
and I
do.
didn't interfere. Oh yes, indeed. Yes, yes, yes. He had the farm. He had the farm and whatever went with it, pretty well. Yeah, he did that. Yeah, and I had the children mostly, and my parents, saw that it went fairly even in the other living beside. You know.
Now, I know that now a lot of people in the family look to you as the someone who knows an awful lot about finances. Did you handle the day-to-day finances
Absolutely.
back then?
Absolutely. From the very beginning, I always did.
Okay.
Sam always handed over his check. He always handed over his check. I did the financing. Now, when he got Social Security, I didn't touch that. When he got that. Whatever he wanted to do with it, I never touched his.
What did he do with it?
Um, he was always liberal with anything connected with church. He was always, wherever he went, he was always liberal with that.
Okay.
And he used to, buy things that he liked with connected with farming and stuff. He bought stuff like that. Well, but he was careful. He didn't. No, he just bought what he needed. He wasn't used to handling much money or spending a lot of money except for his cars, things that he needed.
Sure.
He liked to, but he always bought secondhand cars, like your dad does. He always bought secondhand cars, and of course he bought stuff for the farm. He bought tractors and stuff for the farm. He bought stuff like that, yeah. And neither one interfered with the other when things like that. We never did. But I mean, he never was extravagant.